Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that.
Reiner spoke only once when he agreed to another postponement.
Do you waive your right to be arraigned?
Yeah.
The judge assigned a public defender, Kimberly Green, to represent Reiner, funded by taxpayers.
One more video I want to show you. This is of him surrendering on an LA street as the cops corner him. This is a little harder to see, but you can see a bit. Hold on. Where did we get this? Oh, this is from the New York Post. Okay. The law enforcement has since said he went into custody willingly. He didn't resist arrest.
There's been another twist in the case against the son of director Rob Reiner, who is accused of murdering both of his parents. Nick Reiner was supposed to enter a plea in court yesterday, but that did not happen. His high-profile lawyer told the judge he is withdrawing from the case, and then he made a passionate plea outside supporting the defendant.
Nearly 1 month after the shocking deaths of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner, many people believed the case against their son, Nick Reiner, was moving quickly toward a courtroom showdown.
Nick Reiner is facing murder charges for the deaths of his parents, Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. But TMZ says that there's some critical evidence that could result in a not guilty verdict from a potential jury.
So, Mark, bottom line it. If Nick Reiner pleads not guilty by reason of insanity, does the jury buy it?
Oh, I think they not only buy it, I think it's probably closer to the truth than anything else in this case.
Headlines made it seem like everything was happening fast, but legal experts now say the truth is very different. According to specialists following the case, Nick's murder trial may not begin for at least 2 years. The reason? His new public defender is being forced to start from what lawyers call square one, meaning the entire defense must be rebuilt from the ground up. This delay comes after famous defense lawyer Alan Jackson suddenly stepped away from the case, a move that quietly reset the entire legal timeline.
With Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved.
Aside from the Reiner case, speaking out after making the shocking announcement.
I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. We know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case.
When a major attorney leaves a case like this, it doesn't just change the strategy, it changes everything. Former prosecutor and legal analyst Matt Murphy explained that what the public is seeing right now is only the surface of what's actually happening. Behind the scenes, investigators are still working non-stop. According to Murphy, detectives are likely not even halfway finished with their investigation.
Is sanity a jury question?
Yeah, so California uses what's known as a bifurcated system, Megan, where first you have a guilt phase, and then you have a sanity phase. It's like a death penalty case where you have a guilt phase and then a penalty phase. One of my last murders before I left the DA's office was a case that was freakishly close.
We have our robbery homicide division handling the investigation. They worked throughout the night on this case and were able to take into custody Nick Reiner, a suspect in this case. He was subsequently booked for murder and is being held on $4 million bail. Pretty much that's what I can share at this point, but again, a very, very tragic incident.
That means they are still collecting evidence, reviewing phone records, examining private data, interviewing people, and following leads that could change the entire direction of the case. Some of this information is so sensitive that it must first be reviewed by special legal officers before it can even be used. These officers, sometimes called special masters, make sure that only legally relevant material becomes part of the case. This process takes time, patience, and extreme care. Nothing is rushed because one mistake could cause major problems later in court.
Nick had been diagnosed around 2020 with a form of schizophrenia. We know this. It is called schizoaffective disorder. It is a severe form of schizophrenia that not only involves psychosis, delusions, but also involves severe mood disorders. And when you combine the two, it becomes volcanic. So Nick had been on antipsychotic meds for several years, and a month before the murders, what we are being told is those meds were working. They were working fine. For some reason, his doctors changed the meds and it sent him into orbit. He became delusional. He became dangerous. The Reiners saw it. They were alarmed. It built and built and built the month before the murders. And it all revolved around a change in the meds. Now, what I am told, Ashley, I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. What I'm told is that there was absolutely no justification to change the meds. And the reason it was changed, I am told, would shock you, would absolutely shock you. And that you can't even look at logic to understand it. As to what it is specifically, my sources will not say.
Murphy made it clear that this is not a simple case where everything is already figured out. He described it as an active and ongoing investigation, meaning new discoveries could still be made at any moment. Each new piece of information must be analyzed, verified, and legally approved. Meanwhile, Nick's new public defender must now review every document, every interview, every report, and every detail from the beginning. This alone can take months. Then comes psychological evaluations, legal motions, arguments over what evidence can be used, and many closed-door court discussions. All of this happens long before a jury ever hears a single word.
That's why experts say it could be years before the trial actually begins. To the public, this long wait feels frustrating. People want answers. They want closure. They want to understand what really happened. But the legal system doesn't move based on emotion. It moves based on procedure. And in a case this serious, slow often means careful. Every step must be done correctly because once a trial begins, there is no room for major mistakes. As the weeks pass, more questions continue to build. Why did the first lawyer leave? What are investigators still looking for? And what will Nick's defense eventually argue? For now, the case remains in a strange place, public yet deeply hidden. Everyone is watching, but almost nothing is being revealed. And that silence may be the loudest part of this entire story. The 32-year-old suspect, Nick Reiner, was formally charged in December with 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the deaths of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner. If convicted, he could face the harshest punishment possible under the law, including life in prison without the chance of parole or even the death penalty. For now, he remains behind bars at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in Los Angeles, where he is being held while the legal process slowly unfolds. Many people assumed the case would move quickly, but recent events have made it clear that this is far from over. One of the biggest shocks came during Nick's first arraignment of the year, when he was expected to formally enter a plea. Instead, his high-profile attorney, Alan Jackson, suddenly and unexpectedly stepped away from the case. There was no dramatic courtroom moment, no long explanation, just a brief statement saying the decision was due to circumstances beyond both his and Nick's control. That one move changed everything. When a major lawyer leaves a case like this, it doesn't just affect the defense, it can reset the entire legal process. Now, Nick's legal team must start again from the beginning, reviewing every detail, every piece of evidence, and every report as if it were brand new. According to former prosecutor and legal expert Matt Murphy, this delay makes sense because investigators are likely not even halfway done with their work. He explained that this is still a very active investigation, meaning detectives are still collecting information, reviewing records, serving warrants, and carefully analyzing what can and cannot be used in court. Nothing is rushed in a case like this because one mistake could change everything. Murphy made it clear that there is still a lot of work to be done and that the public is only seeing a small part of what is really happening. While headlines come and go, the real story is unfolding quietly, slowly, and behind closed doors, where every decision could shape Nick's future forever. Outside the courthouse, former defense attorney Alan Jackson spoke to reporters and made it clear that his decision to step away from Nick Reiner's case was not taken lightly. He explained that there were circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control that forced him to withdraw. Jackson said these conditions made it impossible for his team to continue representing Nick, even though they had been deeply involved in the case. He also stressed that he was legally and ethically prohibited from explaining the full reasons behind his decision, which only fueled more speculation and confusion among the public. Despite stepping down, Jackson strongly maintained that Nick was not guilty of murdering his parents. He insisted that his team had investigated the case from every angle, leaving no detail unchecked. According to him, everything they uncovered supported one conclusion, that under California law, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. His words were firm and confident, telling reporters they could take it to the bank. That statement alone sparked intense debate online, with some people believing him, others questioning his motives, and many wondering what information he knows that the public does not. Meanwhile, Kimberly Green, the deputy public defender now assigned to Nick's case, also spoke briefly to the press. She explained that she had only had a short conversation with Nick so far, and that they had not yet discussed the case in depth. According to Green, Nick seemed to understand that there was going to be a change in his legal representation, even though the sudden switch came as a surprise. She made it clear that her team would need time to review everything from the beginning. This means every report, every interview, every piece of evidence must be carefully studied all over again. That process alone could take months. Legal experts say this kind of restart often causes major delays, especially in serious and complex cases like this one. Former prosecutor Matt Murphy encouraged the public to be patient, reminding everyone that the justice system moves slowly for a reason. He explained that rushing a case like this could lead to serious mistakes, and those mistakes could affect the outcome forever. According to Murphy, investigators are still actively working behind the scenes, and the case is far from finished. While the public sees only short headlines and brief updates, the real story is unfolding quietly in courtrooms, offices, and private legal meetings. Every decision being made right now could shape Nick Reiner's future for the rest of his life. Legal experts now believe that the case against Nick Reiner is not something that will be resolved anytime soon. According to former prosecutor Matt Murphy, this process could take years, not months. In fact, he said he would be shocked if the trial even begins within the next 24 months. That alone shows just how complicated and slow-moving this case really is. Murphy explained that Nick's new public defender, Kimberly Green, is essentially starting from square one. This means she must build everything from the ground up, learning who Nick is, understanding his background, reviewing thousands of pages of evidence, studying police reports, watching footage, analyzing expert findings, and forming a legal strategy from scratch. One of the most important steps, Murphy said, is that Green must first establish a relationship with Nick. Without trust, communication, and understanding, a defense attorney cannot properly represent their client, especially in a case this serious. Murphy also pointed out that Nick is currently under a strict no-bail hold due to the special circumstances tied to the charges against him. This means he will not be released while the case is pending. As Murphy put it, Nick Reiner is not going anywhere. Because of that, the court does not feel pressured to rush the process. If he is not believed to be a danger to others, the system will take its time. Murphy predicts that the court will give Green as much time as she needs to prepare properly, and that preparation could take a very long time. He reminded the public that an arraignment is the moment when a plea is entered, and in a case like this, deciding what plea to enter is not simple. The defense must first decide whether they will plead not guilty, or possibly not guilty by reason of insanity, but that decision cannot be made quickly. It often requires deep psychological evaluations, long interviews, and detailed reports from mental health experts. Murphy went on to explain that California law allows something called declaring a doubt. This is when a defense lawyer can tell the court that they believe their client may not be mentally capable of fully understanding the legal process or helping in their own defense. In such situations, the court is legally required to pause everything and appoint 2 mental health experts, one for the prosecution and one for the defense. These experts must then evaluate the defendant and decide whether the person is mentally fit to stand trial. This is different from determining whether someone was legally sane at the time of the alleged crime. These are 2 separate legal questions, and both take time. Murphy emphasized that cases involving mental health are layered, complex, and slow. nothing moves fast in situations like this. Authorities say Rob and Michelle Reiner were found inside their Brentwood home on December 14th. After that discovery, multiple law enforcement agencies worked together to locate Nick. He was later taken into custody near the University of Southern California that same evening, several hours after his parents were found. 2 days later, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman formally charged Nick with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Despite the sudden exit of defense attorney Alan Jackson, Hochman insisted that Nick would still receive full and proper legal representation. He stated that the district attorney's office would provide Nick's new lawyer with all relevant materials, including interviews, recordings, expert reports, and any other evidence needed to build a defense. Hochman expressed strong confidence in the prosecution's case, saying he believes a jury will eventually convict Nick beyond a reasonable doubt. However, a spokesperson for the Reiner family said they trust the legal process and will not comment further while the case is ongoing. For now, everything remains in motion, but nothing is final. This case is not speeding toward a conclusion, it is slowly unfolding. Every legal decision, every evaluation, and every piece of evidence could shape what happens next. And while the public waits for answers, the real story is being written quietly, step by step, inside courtrooms, offices, and private legal meetings.